So yeah.
So we found strange as well, or stranger than usual.
So yeah, Nick and Charlie. So y'all are with Hidden Variable. And how'd y'all get involved with Skullgirls on mobile?
Yeah, so I know Peter. This is Charlie. I know Peter, who's the CEO over at Lab Zero, the original developer of Skullgirls, which released a few years ago on, as many folks already know, on Xbox and PlayStation. Recently, actually, in arcades in Japan, and all sorts of cool stuff. But they've been continuing to go through and develop the game further. I had a chat with them almost 3 years ago, actually, at EDC, just talking about kind of the future of Skullgirls and just general kind of developer chatting. He mentioned that I asked him if he was doing anything with Skullgirls on mobile, and he'd actually been fielding some ideas from other devs to go through and make a kind of a match 3, a very mobile style game that just happens to incorporate some of the Skullgirls assets, kind of like a puzzle fighter and things like that. And I love puzzle fighters, don't get me wrong, but I really saw that as a huge missed opportunity as a longtime fighting game fan and a huge Skullgirls fan, which is such an amazing IP with so many cool characters and animations and everything else as well. It felt like it would be a huge missed opportunity to not go through and try and build something for mobile. And a lot of the reasons why they didn't at first is they felt that there were technical challenges. It's a 2D animated game with lots of high-res textures that they built their own engine from scratch in order to go through and process, and so porting that over to something that could go through and run on mobile devices was a pretty tall order that a lot of folks balked at. Fortunately, we have an extremely talented tech team that ultimately took on that challenge head on, and we built a basic early prototype. And basically what we saw was most genres on mobile are super saturated, except for very few, and fighting is one of them. And even the games that ultimately existed in the genre, and at the time it was pretty much just like Injustice way back in the day. Since then, there's been Constant Champions and a handful of other games as well. But they really didn't feel like they showed that they helped to establish the fact that there was interest in fighting games on mobile, but I didn't feel that they actually captured the experience of playing a mobile fighting game, especially kind of that experience when you get to that intermediate comfort level where you still have you have enough of an understanding of the mechanics that you can start really exploring things and kind of creatively making interesting choices and coming up with kind of combos that you feel responsible for, et cetera, et cetera. And so we kind of set out to go through and say, let's create, I mean, really for me, the fighting game that I always wanted on mobile, that would add more depth to the mobile fighting experience, but I think at the same time also serve as like a gateway game for folks who, I think a lot of fighting game players or people who like fighting games are kind of admirers from afar, kind of that extended fighting game community that think these games are really cool, and they'll watch the Twitch streams of Evo and things like that as well. But fighting games can be pretty punishing. And I think a lot of people ultimately end up missing out on a really cool genre just because they're too intimidated to go through and dig into it outside of the odd Smash Brothers fight here or there. So anyway, part of our goal was to say, look, let's go through and see if we can build a game that folks that like fighting games can ultimately dive into and actually feel like, oh, cool, this helps to kind of scratch that fighting game that's on mobile. Provide a game that folks who had kind of weaned themselves on Injustice and Constant Champions and other games that had already been released on mobile, this feels like it's a next step that they can ultimately take to dig a little bit deeper. And for folks who've never played a fighting game at all because they've been too intimidated, provide a really good entry point for the genre as a whole and help kind of teach them what it is about fighting games that really makes them sing as a player. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of seems like, as far as my experience with Skullgirls on playing the PC version, is that it's a game that wants to teach you how fighting games work with like the tutorial. Like you play some of the other modern fighting games that are out there, and they don't necessarily teach you like some of the things that you would understand, that high level players know. But there's a tutorial that teaches like, oh, this is how you do like this sort of maneuver, to help you kind of be competitive in the game versus just you kind of have to figure it out through secondhand resources, basically.
Yeah, I feel like fighting games, frankly, like a lot of genres, but fighting games in particular, really start to come together when you have enough kind of confidence and understanding of the choices that are at your disposal. So it's all kind of loaded into RAM, and then you're just kind of, what's the right thing for me to go through and do at this particular moment, weighing all of the interesting variables that are kind of at play given the state of a particular fight. And I think oftentimes fighting games have a huge barrier of entry right off the bat because there's all these complex inputs that you need to go through and learn. And a lot of people who are fighting game players you know, I mastered the Dragon Punch motion, you know, years and years ago, and, you know, for a lot of folks, and that's, as a result, whenever I see Dragon Punch motion, that's old hat to me, and so I can easily go through and do it right off the bat. And it's nice and rewarding to have kind of my prior investment in this muscle memory rewarded, which is really neat. But for a lot of players, that's a huge barrier to entry, and it makes them feel kind of impotent when they're trying to go through and actually engage with the game at kind of a meaningful level. So I agree. One of the things that I thought was really cool about the original Skullgirls is that they really go out of their way not only to kind of teach you those specific mechanics and help you get comfortable with it, but they also go out of their way to explain, this is not only how you do this move, this is why this move exists and what it's for, and tactically when to go through and use it. So they're already trying to kind of get you comfortable with the types of decision making that you're going to need to be making once you kind of fully understand the way that the game ultimately works. And in the mobile game, we tried to capture a lot of that same vibe, but we did away with a lot of the mechanical complexity and tried to make all of that intuitive through taps and swipes and kind of these equipable special moves that are available on demand to enable you to do a lot of the same things that you ultimately do in a fighting game, but without that same kind of mechanical barrier to entry that ultimately prevents a lot of people from really having the type of experience that I think they're dreaming of when they first set out to go through and dig into one of these games.
Yeah, and that's I think one thing that's interesting about sort of the mobile fighting game genre as a whole is that whole fact that, you know, that people really have an interest in fighting games. You look at something like a Smash Brothers type game. Thanks for the follow, Nick Gmon. Yeah, you talk about oh, Millimars, thank you for following. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, well, I'm not sorry for calling out the follows. Thanks for joining us, folks. But
yeah, no worries.
But yeah, but you look at something like a Smash Brothers type game that's successful because you don't have to learn the complex inputs, and I think that's almost why a game like Skullgirls on mobile, like you can, it's very easy to get into because it's all taps and swipes. It's easy enough to start up with, but then there's still room for it to all work out in terms of you can start adding complexity to the game because you have still simplistic inputs.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's funny you mentioned Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers was a big kind of thematic inspiration for us early on because of its accessibility and because every character more or less has a shared set of inputs that once you kind of learn the inputs required to kind of canvas the full array of actions that a character in Smash Brothers can ultimately do, immediately you kind of have a leg up on all the other characters, and they all behave very differently. But it immediately kind of helps to ease you into the experience as a whole, and you'll experience the same thing in Skullgirls. However, even though by swiping down with every character you do a trip attack, Philia's trip attack, Big Ben's trip attack, Eliza's trip attack, they all behave very differently. Or at least they have nuances to them that enable you to kind of, there are times to use each one in an ideal way in order to extend a combo. There's instances when they're safe versus when they can be punished. And so, we internally basically call those nuances. So even though there's kind of this familiar scaffolding for every single character, we really wanted to go out of our way to create lots of those little kind of nuanced moments throughout the characters' animation trees and actions that they can go through and perform, so that just as you're spending more time with the characters, it's not the sort of stuff that you would teach in a tutorial necessarily, but just by spending time with them and experimenting, you start to kind of build your own familiarity and understanding of how those characters work, so that when you do end up figuring out, you've just launched a character and bounced them off the wall and you're kind of thinking on the fly, do I have enough time to get this? Can I combo with this move into that move maybe? You have this kind of intuitive guide based on your experience with the moves before, that when you try it out and it ultimately works, it feels super empowering and that you were responsible for going through and doing that, as opposed to just kind of tapping your way through a rote combo that was pre-programmed for you.
Yeah, and I like some of the maneuvers that you have in this game available to you, like I like being able to do like the trip attacks, kind of the air attacks, and then the way that the special moves seem to be implemented is pretty cool. And by the way, before we continue on, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple people who just followed us, Super Toaster Man 64 and Anna Sunshine. Thanks for following us. Really appreciate it. And like I said, for everyone who's just joined up, we're streaming Skullgirls Mobile, which is starting to roll out out worldwide. If y'all have watched before, I think I played it here on Twitch and on Mob Crush. It's a fighting game based on a popular console and PC fighting game that's rolling out on mobile, and we've got a couple of developers from Hidden Variable here to chat about the game. So that's the voices that you are that you're hearing right now. And and if you all have any questions about the game, anything, feel free to ask. We'll be happy to bring them up. Alt17, thanks for the follow. So I guess I see a couple people talking about media compatibility issues. I don't know if that's a technical thing. That might be if you're on Android right now and it says it's incompatible. I don't know if that's. I don't know what would be. I don't know what would be the situation with that. Was the game soft launched on Android, y'all?
Yeah, so the game is as I said, or I guess we were talking about this beforehand, but the game is currently kind of rolling out to all of the various territories that we're launching in for this hard launch. So every territory and platform's a little bit different, so it'll all be available by the 25th. But by all means, check your app store. It may be available right now. Folks that are having compatibility issues on Android, the issue may be a result of some of the device restrictions that we currently have in there. We started by default with a more conservative set of restricted devices, but we're planning on relaxing those bit by bit. We just wanted to make sure right off the bat that folks who downloaded it are able to go through and run the game cleanly. But we have our forums at skullgirlsmobile.com. We have a post that is specifically dedicated to this, so if folks feel like their device should be able to go through and access the game and isn't, please let us know. And we're super active on those forums and are very engaged with the community, so getting that feedback directly will be really helpful for us so that we can make sure that everything rolls out as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I believe that sometimes on Android, like, even if it says it's incompatible, that might just be because of the soft launch. If it's that's what it says sometimes on Android, is if you try to download a game that's only in certain countries, it'll say it's incompatible with your device. So
that's a great point. Yeah, the game was in soft launch for about a month in Canada and the Netherlands. So it's quite possible that as part of that processing, it hasn't forgotten that is an exclusive territory. So there can be some wonkiness with the store while it still refreshes and fully updates. So as I said before, if for some reason you can't go through and access it right now, please check in again minimally tomorrow. Feel free to keep checking the page. But we'll be doing everything that we can in order to make sure that everything is all shipshape and ready to go, certainly by midnight. So, and if you have any questions or any issues come up, don't be shy about posting on the forums, and we'll be happy to respond.
Android. That's always fun to deal with compatibility issues there. But yeah, folks. Yeah, at least like I said, at least if you have an Android device and want to play it, you might see it on the store right now. Like I said, at least wait. You know, if it's not working by tomorrow morning at least, head over to the Skullgirls mobile forums. Skullgirlsmobile.com, you said, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, head on over there and yell at Nick and Charley.
We love it. We cannot get enough of people yelling at us about compatibility issues. But no, seriously, we're happy to go through and help folks out. So we're a small indie team, and we're part of the Skullgirls history is a really strong relationship and rapport with the community, and that's something that we take really seriously as well for all of our own games. So yeah, we're super active on the forums. The developers are there, not only Nick and myself, but other folks on the team. So we're always there. We're always listening if you have issues, but also if you have feedback, suggestions, things you'd like to go through and see. Please don't be shy. We want to try and there's a lot of stuff that we want to go through and add to the game, but as much as possible, we want to try and align that with what folks are most interested in. So yeah, by all means, we welcome all of your feedback. It's still early on, but we're hoping to go through and build a thriving, active, vocal community around Skullgirls Mobile, just like there has been for the primary Skullgirls game for many years.
Awesome. I think we had a couple questions from early on. So one person asking, is it real-time fights or are you fighting bots? Now, obviously we're playing the campaign mode, which is taking on computer opponents, but is there any kind of real-time multiplayer mode against other players here?
So right now, all of the gameplay is going to be against the AI. We do have a prize fight mode that unfortunately there aren't any prize fights active just because we're doing some last minute maintenance before the full launch tomorrow. But that includes basically it's kind of an asynchronous leaderboard where as you fight, you will be fighting against AI controlled versions of other players' teams. And then you'll accumulate points and work your way up a leaderboard. And at the end of the event, everyone gets, you get rewards along the way, and then you'll get rewards when the event ends based on where you ultimately ranked. So that's a little bit, it's still playing as the AI, but it has a little bit more community engagement. However, we ported the entire Skullgirls engine over into Unity for the mobile game. And as we've been building the game, we actually play, synchronous P versus P just locally in editor against each other to go through and test moves and whatnot. We basically built the game from the ground up with a long-term goal of being able to go through and enable synchronous PvP in mind. So all the AI, for example, all behaves exactly just like a player would, so it's just providing inputs just like a player would as well. So everything has been tuned with that type of fidelity in mind. So unfortunately, I can't speak much more on that topic beyond the fact that we've gone to great lengths to ensure that the foundation of the game is sound enough to support synchronous player versus player in the future.
Cool. Let's see. We had another question from early on. So yeah, Line is publishing the game. I don't know if there's anything you can talk about as far as that, as what Line's role in the game is.
Sure. Yeah. So we originally we started developing the game. It was just independently with us and Lab Zero, the original Skullgirls devs, and Autumn, who's their publisher. And we were developing the game from the ground up. We ended up meeting with Line midway through development. They were really excited about the game and its potential. And so we ended up partnering with them. We only just recently announced it, probably about 2.5 months ago. Oh, okay, gotcha. But obviously we've been working with them for a while. One of the great, Line's been a great partner to go through and work with. One of the things in particular, obviously Line has a presence worldwide, but especially strong presence in Asia, particularly in Japan and in Korea. And that's an area that we've been, as indie developers, making games that are totally different than Skullgirls in the past. That's an area that we've been interested in kind of breaking into more and more. But it can be very difficult because, as you're aware, mobile is a constantly changing landscape, especially when you consider, kind of business models and things along those lines and what players expect and how much is not enough UI and too much UI and, things along those lines. And so we've been working with them to go through and try and create a game that is kind of a universal version that can work for players worldwide, that will be accessible and familiar for Western players as well as for players in Japan and Korea, etc. So they've been invaluable in that sense to go through and kind of give us kind of from the trenches data regarding what is and isn't, what feels natural and appropriate for a Japanese player that would be purely speculative on our end. So they've been a great partner to help kind of guide us in shaping the game in such a way that hopefully it's accessible to players around the world, regardless of what country they're from or what background they're coming from.
Okay, now we've had this discussion on the streams before, and we're having it now. Okay, so this game called Skullgirls, but Big Band's pretty clearly a dude, and there's the character Beowulf as well. What is up with that?
So the original Skullgirls game, the core cast was all female characters. So that was before Big Band and Beowulf were ultimately added. A lot of those characters, along with Eliza and Squiggly and RoboFortune, those were all characters that were actually added as DLC after the fact as a result of a crowdfunding campaign, which is a big part of kind of helped. It's where a lot of the Skullgirls community really kind of flexed their muscle and were able to go through and really enable the game to expand much further beyond its original kind of core content. So the goal originally, and as you kind of dig into the narrative more and more, these are all characters that are pursuing the Skull Heart, which is an ancient artifact that can grant a woman's wish, but obviously has some inherent dangers associated with it, the potential to corrupt the intention of those wishes. And if your heart is impure, there's a risk that you will transform into the Skullgirl, which is kind of the main big baddie that you're ultimately trying to go through and take out over the course of the campaign here. So long story short, though, a lot of those characters were added to go through and flesh out the world. A big part of Skullgirls is, in a lot of games and fighting games in particular, the story and the setting can be pretty secondary, and the character, frankly, can be pretty expected, kind of, Joe Strong guy, beating up folks in the big city kind of a thing. And I think that Skullgirls really goes out of its way to create a really unique world that's kind of this blend of noir, kind of cops and robbers, and like 60s sci-fi experimentation, kind of Frankenstein monster building kind of thing. And then there's this kind of Lovecraftian angle to things, and there's a anime style, kind of high school, schoolgirl angle to some of the characters and their stories. So it's a really interesting blend of a lot of different thematic sources that all kind of really fits together really well. And when they were fleshing out the cast of characters, even though a lot of the main characters they first introduced were female, there are obviously a lot of really cool male characters in the world as well. So we're in the process, even though there's 8 characters in the game currently, we're going to be adding the full Skullgirls cast into the game as part of updates moving forward. And then hopefully we're hoping to go through and add even more characters from the extended Skullgirls universe as playable characters in the game in the future. So we're really excited to be able to kind of take the baton and help to grow kind of the Skullgirls universe, or at least the playable version of the Skullgirls universe as time goes on.
Cool. But that at least helps out to understand the whole why big band was in there. I was like, wait, I thought this game was called Skullgirls. This, I mean, makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, first off, Rui, I saw you cheer during one of the fights earlier. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support, everyone's support here. Thank you so much. Blade 291C, you were asking about compatibility with the Galaxy 7. It's probable, most likely, that your device does work. Just give it another shot tomorrow, because the Android version might still be in soft launch technically for you. I mean, if I'm explaining this wrong, Nick and Charlie, if y'all want to explain it a little better, go for it.
Yeah, the Galaxy 7 is definitely compatible. That came out last year. As you mentioned before, on Android, we're rolling out in the various territories over time right now, and oftentimes the message that you can get if it's not available where you are yet is that it's not compatible. But as we mentioned before, try tomorrow. That's technically our official launch date is the 25th. And if you encounter further issues, please go to skullgirlsmobile.com and pop into the forums, and we'll help you out. We're pretty active there, and want to make sure everyone can get on board. So,
well, and let's see. I think I don't know if y'all saw the comment in chat, but I want to bring it up. Rui, like one of our big supporters here, mentions that there was a vision impaired player playing the game and getting high praise for the accessibility. That's real good. That's real good to hear.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it's something that we take really seriously as much as we can. We try to go through and build the game. So, I mean, it's great to get that feedback. You don't always know how folks are ultimately going to go through and respond to things, but it's important to us. Play testing for us is critical along the way. So we've been kind of tearing the game apart every step of the way. It's the only way in which it can ultimately be the best possible version of this overall experience. And while we're proud of what we ultimately built, we know that there's a lot of additional improvements that we'd like to go through and add. So it's great to hear that that folks like the person that they mentioned, we're having a great time with the game. But if folks do identify other issues that they think could ultimately be better, please don't be shy about letting us know. We know we can always make the game better than it is. So it's an act of improving the game every single day. It's kind of our general MO. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I know we mentioned that I currently I think am I Parasol a gold character? I believe. I think is that
yeah,
right?
You do. You pulled a gold Parasol. That's awesome. She's great.
Awesome. Yeah. I know.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Not you getting clocked in the head by Peacock's projectiles, but no, that's a great. Where did you pull her from? From a Premier relic or the Parasol relic? Do you remember?
I think it was the Premier relic. It was we can actually pull one out because I was playing the soft launch version. I think I got one of the bonuses for veteran players. And I'm using two of the characters I pulled here, the Rusty Pinwheel and the Prime Parasol, just to see if I can level them up at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great pull. The Prime Parasol is awesome, especially if you unlock her
her character ability and signature ability. I don't know how many skill points you have or what level she is right now, but if you go to her skill tree,
let's go there. I was gonna open a relic, but let's open a. Let's check that out. So let's go. Let's go to her. Let's go to her skill tree and kind of see what maybe like a gold character skill tree might be like.
Yeah. So yeah, if you click on her and then go to her skill tree, you'll see that. So every single character has this full skill tree. This is a big part of our RPG upgrade systems, and there's a whole host of different upgrades you can ultimately go through and get. So each of those arcs kind of represents a different theme. The top arc is the character-specific abilities, so they're kind of Parasol and this particular variant of Parasol-specific things that you can unlock. The arc to the northeast, I guess, the one to the right going around clockwise, is based on the energy system, so it helps you go through and use this character more frequently. The one below it is related to health and defense. The next one is related to the next one around the bend is related to your moves, how many moves you can equip, and every single move has a kind of a move cost associated with it. So this upgrades the number of moves you can bring and how powerful those moves ultimately are. And then the next one helps to improve your overall offense and attack. So if you click on the very top node that's right above Parasol, you'll be able to see her character ability. Every single character type has their own unique ability that they can go through and fire in combat. So Parasol will actually summon tiers, which are these kind of floating mines, for lack of a better term. Certain moves like her juggles and her trip and her throw will go through and spawn these tiers that if you do a charge attack, when you hold down and then release, she'll be able to detonate, kind of like a remote bomb. And then as you upgrade each individual variant, you'll see that there'll be different properties that you can ultimately unlock along the way. So if you purchase this particular ability, I know you don't have the skill points for it right now. When you level up Parasol a few more times, you'll have enough points to go through and get it. But if you tap the node that's directly above that one as well, you'll be able to see what this particular Parasol variant can do with some of her tiers. I believe that so this one, the one right in the middle, helps give you Enrage every time you go through and detonate a tier. Enrage is like an attack bonus, so you can use it to kind of give yourself a buff.
Okay.
And then as you continue to upgrade that tree, you'll kind of collect additional bonuses and things along those lines. And so this really ties into kind of the RPG layer of the game, where you can have a whole host of different modifiers that you can apply, either buffs to yourself or debuffs to your opponent, or bleeds, or whatever it may be. And then all of those interact in really interesting ways. So there's some characters that can get armor, for example, that will go through and obviously reduce the damage on them. But if something inflicts armor break on them, it will debuff all of the armor that they ultimately had equipped and instead afflict them with this kind of armor break. So there's kind of this interesting seesaw where if you have the right upgrades for your character, you bring the right variant to a particular fight, or you have the right moves equipped for that character, especially if you dig into the higher levels and go into some of the event matches and whatnot, managing a number of these modifiers becomes really important to kind of maximizing your odds for success. Obviously, being great at the core fighting of the game is a critical component too, but this is a really key layer that helps to add a lot of interesting nuances to gameplay, especially as you spend more and more time with it.
Awesome. Let's open up another relic right here, because that sounds like fun.
Hopefully we'll infuse you with developer luck. I recommend dragging those into the circle one at a time. So if you get a green glow, you didn't this time. If you get a green glow, that means you got a silver or a gold. Oh, cool. Trade ends is awesome. That's a great bronze variant. So yeah, since the soft launch, we've added another 8 new variants. And in addition to adding new full characters, we'll also be adding more and more variants to the game as well that all have special abilities and whatnot. So you got another one. One of the cool things about our progression system is actually you can feed that filia to one of your existing filias, and she'll immediately go through and gain a ton of additional levels right off the bat. So you can use that use characters in order to help accelerate the rate at which those characters level up. And then when they ultimately get to max level, if you get a bronze character to level 30, you can feed them 3 other bronze filia characters, and they'll evolve to a silver. So you can slowly evolve these characters to eventually take a bronze and turn them into a gold, eventually further on down the road.
And one thing that's really cool about that is that the skill tree, you were looking at the gold skill tree for Parasol before. Upgrading a gold character is really expensive. It's resource intense, whereas upgrading a bronze character is much cheaper. Even though gold characters, natural gold characters, are inherently more powerful, your bronze characters, even when you evolve them to silver, their skill tree upgrade costs will always remain those rock bottom bronze prices. So it makes it a lot easier for you to go through and max out a bronze character and evolve them to gold, while you kind of build up a roster that will enable you to kind of more quickly gather the resources necessary to fully upgrade your gold characters as well. So
cool. Well, yeah, I'm just opening up some of the bronze relics I
it's great.
Hey, Paul, and thanks for stopping by. And let me check who was the one that followed us. I gave you the thumbs up. Yeah, I don't know if I called up Blade291C. Thanks for following, and the Zero Angel. Thanks for following. Really appreciate y'all following us here for our developer stream with the developers of Skullgirls Mobile, Nick and Charlie over at Hidden Variable. They are chatting with us for about another 25 minutes or so.
Sure.
And yeah, great. Yeah, we'll see about. Let's jump back into some fights, maybe, because this is a fighting game. All right. Yeah, I'm skipping the story stuff because the people have already had to put up with me not only narrating the story but also making silly voices.
Oh man, we missed out.
On that one.
Target confirmed.
Cool. So you'll notice that just to speak a little bit to some of the, I saw some things going by with people talking about kind of the free-to-play mechanics for the game and how things work. So you'll notice every character has their own energy. Whenever each fight ultimately costs energy to go through and start a fight, but every time you level up that character, their energy refills 100%. You mentioned prize fights, which unfortunately they're down. There normally will be a prize fight or multiple prize fights available at any given moment. They'll always be available. There's just a unique window right now before we launch where the prize fights are currently unavailable. But they require a different energy as well. So the idea is that when your story mode characters are out of energy, you can go into prize fight mode and still go through and compete a little bit. And if they level up, then it refreshes both energy meters and you can dive back in. But it does mean that there's always a reason to go through and use kind of characters up and down your roster because they all have their own unique energy requirements as well. So.
All right. And with fighting, there is a whole elemental system, elemental system in play as well, where you want to swap out fighters, to get that elemental advantage, and roll out with a good team if possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really big part, again, of kind of min-maxing things at high-level play. It gives you a reason why you might want to, if your opponent tags out and they bring in someone, you've got a fire character and they bring in a water character, that might be an excuse for you to go through and tag out as well. One thing that's interesting about the tagging mechanic is that whenever someone tags out, all of their buffs and debuffs go away. So it's kind of like there's a tactical choice there. If you've got a bunch of buffs stacked on your character, you might be a little more resistant to go through and tag out right away, versus if someone's hit you with a bunch of bleeds, you can always kind of dispel it by swapping in someone else. So that's part of kind of the team management element that you need to go through and deal with while you're playing through the game. So.
Now, in a case like this, where I've pulled some characters, I want to level them up. What do you recommend for going through and leveling up characters?
So there are really two main methods. I mean, obviously playing through story mode will always be competitive. You get more experience. All of your experience is based on the fighter score of the people that you are beating. So if you beat tougher opponents, you'll get more experience. Hopefully all that's fairly intuitive. One of the best ways to go through and fight opponents that are around your same fighter score is actually in the prize fight mode that we keep talking about but isn't fully available, because it always matches you up with a comparable opponent for your given team. So prize fight modes are a great way to go through and build up a score and collect rewards along the way, but your opponent will dynamically adjust to the strength and ability of whatever the team you're ultimately bringing to the table is. So. What you're doing right now is pretty good as well. So, oh man.
Yeah, and I'm actually
advantage there.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm actually playing through what should we call playing through I think the second difficulty of a story mission.
Oh, that's right.
Story levels that I was that I already played earlier, so, but it's a harder fight. Yeah. Just looking at the power levels, like this was meant to be harder than it was before.
Yeah, we also have a bunch of different AI difficulty levels where they'll become more and more adept at blocking and countering and using their moves intelligently and things along those lines. So the more when you go into advanced into expert mode and when you get a good win streak going in prize fights, you'll notice that not only the enemies tougher statistically, but they also use the tools at their disposal more effectively. Yeah, you're definitely going up against it. It's impressive you've been able to maintain a conversation and still have a better than 50-50 win rate against some of these opponents. So
yeah, and those tools extend to, obviously there's the unique character abilities, but also there's a lot of different status effects that these abilities will create, and there's a lot of fun dynamics, whether there's armor and armor breaking and bleed effects, and a lot of the fights, especially the character-based daily challenges are pretty puzzly, which is pretty fun. So it won't be just as simple as trying to mash the button and force your way through a fight. There's going to be a lot of fun kind of puzzle moments for you to try to figure out how to min-max your collection into the best way to beat these different types of fights.
Cool.
One thing that'll maybe in between fights, you can go ahead and equip a few different moves as well. So that's a big way in which you can kind of customize your loadout. All of those moves can be upgraded as well. That unlock special properties and increase their damage and things along those lines. So there's a lot of fun RPG-related things to upgrade and fiddle with, for classic RPG players.
Yeah, we can check out some of the special move stuff after I try and win this fight. I don't know if my team is a little front loaded here with Parasol, and I think it went with two weaker characters, unfortunately. Well, I had to have a Valentine on my team for this one. I maybe should have gone with someone stronger, but you live, you learn. Sometimes you lose some fights. Now, was there any tweaking necessarily to the difficulty and the AI between the soft launch version and this version that's out now?
Yeah, it's definitely, the AI has generally improved across the board. There were, over the course of the soft launch, we have a pretty active and vocal community, as I mentioned before. So they were pretty open about a number of different exploits they were able to go through and find with the AI. So we definitely improved the AI's awareness of its kind of combat situation. But that's an ongoing thing that we'll continue to tune. We have a number of other AI updates that'll be going into our next update as well. But as I said, you're playing in advanced mode, so it's intended mostly for players that have already gone through at least a good chunk of basic mode and story. So it's intentionally challenging you a little bit more than you might have been otherwise. So
yeah. So we're gonna mess around with some of the moves here, but Slur Strife, the elements. So I think I think there's 5 different elements in the game. 3 of them are kind of a rock paper scissors thing, and then there's kind of light and dark as well, right?
Yeah, correct. So basically, a pretty traditional kind of elemental model where water is strong versus fire, fire is strong versus wind, wind is strong versus water, and then light and dark are strong against one another. So that's both a light and dark fight is inherently an extremely high stakes fight because both teams are getting bonus damage against each other. The other advantage with light and dark is they kind of exist independent of that kind of power, that element trio for the other 3. So it's a traditional elemental power cycle that you might see in other games as well, and that's some of that is it helps to encourage kind of interesting team compositions and different choices, but it's also a big part of this game we mentioned early on, kind of extending an olive branch of sorts to new fighting game players. It's also basically saying, hey, if you're a fan of traditional mobile RPGs, even though a fighting game might seem like the sort of thing that you might not be into, there's a lot of that tactical deck building and upgrading that if you're familiar and comfortable doing that in other RPGs or mobile RPGs, a lot of those systems are in play here, and you'll be able to kind of apply a lot of the tools and lessons you've learned over years playing those other types of games in Skullgirls as well. It's a big part of also why we have the
the fight assist mode during gameplay, which basically puts the AI on autopilot, but you can override its actions at any given point in time. So we want to try to make sure that the game is accessible as possible. But yeah, just to look at moves really quickly.
Yeah, let me go back to the yeah. So I'm at like all the moves, like so it's the 300 moves here. Is that like the maximum number of moves that you can have in your collection at once, or is that the total number of moves in the game entirely?
No, that's the maximum number of moves you can have in your collection. So you can get duplicates of existing moves. I know you have a handful already right here. Even if you have 2 versions of the same bronze move, for example, they'll have a different substat associated with them. So if you were to go through and tap on, for example, that Peacock BB3 that's right there in the middle, her with the cigar, there's 2 of them kind of in a column. I know I'm a little delayed, so apologies if I'm...
let's see. I'm probably going to be looking at the exact wrong one. You'll be like, no, that one, that one.
You can click on, there we go. So whichever move you click on, you'll be able to see what substat it has. So you notice that if you click on one, there'll be so that one has cripple resist. So cripple is a debuff that lowers your attack power. So this will basically give you increased odds of being able to resist that effect if someone tries to inflict it upon you. So there's a whole host of different buffs and bonuses that your moves can ultimately go through and give you. So if you have 3 or 4 different versions of the exact same move, you may want to pick the one that has the right stats for the kind of build you're trying to make for that particular character to determine which one you ultimately want to go through and upgrade.
Okay, and let's go back to Peacock. And so, like, one thing I see is that so each character has like a maximum number of I guess move points. I guess we would call them.
Yeah.
And so you can't just like have like 5 special moves. You have to actually fit them into the into how many they can have based on move points. So is that something you can upgrade, or is that based on the or no? That is literally something you can upgrade because I have the ability to upgrade it right here.
Yeah, exactly. That whole tree in the lower left is entirely related to unlocking more slots and then increasing your max number of move points that you can go through and allocate. So. There's always a choice as you're building out a character where exactly you want to go through and make them better. But in our pro tip would ultimately be unlocking your character ability and signature ability early, and unlocking that 3rd move slot early are really, really good, valuable kind of baseline upgrades for a character that you're planning on using for the long haul.
Now, as far as the I don't know what to call them. Like here I got like the kind of the 8-ball bomb thing. Like how do you get those? Like
so you can unlock. Yeah, there's a few different ways. So there are relics that you can go through and purchase in the store that will go through and give you a bronze, silver, or gold version of one of those moves. Also, there are daily events. If you, in addition to story mode, that are a little bit more challenging than your standard story mode fight. And usually have modifiers, but every single day of the week there's a special character-themed daily event that if you go through and find it, you'll be able to earn skill points, which you use to go through and purchase upgrades on your skill tree, and you have a random chance of getting free special moves for that character as well. So you just got that Parasol. I should know off the top of my head. I think Parasol's daily event is on Sunday. On Sundays, you can go through exactly.
Sunday.
That's the time where you can go through and grind that Parasol event and go through and get a bunch of skill points for Parasol, as well as a bunch of moves to go through and how kind of maximize her potential and whatnot. So, yeah. So, and then in addition, obviously, you can always go through and purchase relics as well. That'll go through and expand your collection. And bronze, silver, and gold moves. Silver and gold moves do more damage than bronze moves. They also have a higher damage potential when they're upgraded all the way. They also, bronze moves only have 1 stat, silver moves have 2 stats, and gold moves have 3 stats. So inherently, they tend to help kind of buff your characters in new and interesting ways as well. The higher caliber of or higher tier of the move, the more powerful the character that has equipped it will become.
Okay. All right, let's jump back into some fights because again, fighting game. Yeah, let's see. Do I have any silver characters? I think I've got all bronze and 1 gold.
I know it's a good problem to have, but
yeah. Yeah. Now we have a question: is there a way to preview the blockbusters before equipping them?
Right now, there isn't a way to actually preview the animation, but that's one of the things that's on our list that we plan to add in a future update.
Cool, cool.
Yeah. And what the node you're fighting right now is actually a prize node. So if you're able to win this fight, you're guaranteed to go through and get a special bonus reward beyond the standard canopy coins that you would normally get for completing a fight. So high stakes.
Oh boy. I think I've taken on this fight a couple times and I've lost. So you know, good. Wish me luck.
Yeah. So Eliza's in segment mode right now. One of the things with segment is that she can't actually you can't actually hit. She doesn't hit react when you go through and punch her. So your best way to get Eliza out of segment mode is to throw her using a 2-finger swipe, and then she'll immediately revert back into Eliza mode.
Okay.
So it's one of those nuances with every single character that you learn along the way. Nice. I realize I know I'm several seconds behind, so I'm commenting on things that may or may not be actually happening. I apologize.
Yeah, no. So what's funny is that so I'm using an Elgato capture card, and unfortunately I was only hearing the game audio like well after it was actually happening. So I actually had to buy an HDMI audio extractor to get the audio from the HDMI so I could hear it at the same time. Like otherwise it's like all the sound effects are just throwing me off. It's like, wait, what's going on here?
Sounds like a crazy setup.
Oh my god, I wish I had a my webcam's attached to my laptop. I wish I could actually show it here. I've got like an audio mixer, a digital analog converter, there's an HDMI audio extractor. It is buried on this desk. I have a small desk and like laptop, giant speakers here. I don't even know where this thing is. All I know is that there's an optical audio cable running into this digital analog converter somewhere. I believe in it.
Wow, that's crazy. From that fight, for example, you actually got 2 free bronze move relics. So when you're done with this other prize fight, or sorry, prize
oh, yeah,
fight,
let's jump in. So so you can sell moves. Okay, so that's something you do. Looking to see if you could sort by like new or any in a way like that.
Yeah, right. It doesn't tag the moves with any new moves that you've gotten with a new tag. It's something that we're going to be adding in a future update. So.
Okay. Let me see if see who's a character I really wanted to add moves for. Who am I? Let's see if Big Band has any moves. Any new moves. I think I've got a. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, we can include some other stuff. I've got a horn move. That's 3.
Yeah.
Actually, I probably should.
So a burst is a pretty interesting move. Bursts are basically combo interrupters. So if you're getting comboed, you can always fire off a burst, and it'll automatically interrupt the combo and knock your opponent back, and it'll also apply a debuff to them. So you can kind of use bursts as a defense mechanism if the AI catches you in a combo. So especially at high levels, bursts become super, super useful as a means of, because sometimes those high level opponents can do a ton of damage really quickly. So a burst will help you kind of reset the combo early before you've taken too much damage, and allows you to kind of play a little bit more fast and loose and take a few more chances if you know you've got a burst in your back pocket.
Now I'm curious. Do you see any advantage to having like maybe like one extra powerful move versus having several moves kind of balanced out, or like any personal strategies y'all like?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Everybody at the company has a different playstyle and different preferences. There's also different characters have certain characters, for example, have bonuses to the rate at which the meter fills. So there's 2 different types of moves. There's special moves and there's blockbusters. Blockbusters fill and become available based on a meter. So basically, the more damage you do to someone else or the damage you take, it'll fill up more quickly. Whereas special moves just fill up over time. So different characters will go through and help to accelerate either one of those. So inherently, those characters are a little bit more well suited for to be more special move focused versus more blockbuster focused. So that factors into it a little bit. I know for me, I usually prefer to go through and include my preferred loadout is usually at least one blockbuster, I like to go through and have a burst on hand, and then usually I like to have a souped-up special move that's available at any given point in time. If I've got my core 3 moves kind of in this early game state that you're currently in right now, that usually gives me the most flexibility. Those moves will also, special moves will also recharge while your character is tagged out. So it gives you a lot of kind of tactical flexibility along the way. But you know, one of the cool things is early on, you won't have, you know, dozens and dozens of moves to choose from for a given character, so you kind of need to work with what you got, but it kind of teaches you the ins and outs of how to go through and use each of those moves in a really kind of tactically effective way, which is a big part of what kind of adds to the variety of the game as a whole. You know, sometimes the thing that's a game changer for you is not necessarily getting a new character, it's getting a brand new move for one of your existing characters, and all of a sudden it changes the types of combos you can do and how you use that character in a really powerful way.
Interesting. Interesting. So this definitely does seem like a like another thing I've noticed while playing too, that this has like, a lot of the elements of a very advanced fighting game, just in that sort of structure of you know, a lot of these other, you know, mobile fighting games where they are very much about, you know, collecting and leveling characters and building them up.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a big part of kind of everyone's journey through Skullgirls, and like what they choose to upgrade, what characters they want to go through and focus on, what kind of combos they're comfortable with. All of those things are unique to each individual player, and they end up kind of shaping your personal preferences and the characters you gravitate towards, and how effective you are against opponents that are of a particular character type as well. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting kind of journey that every single player ultimately ends up taking. So, nice. Hold on.
Yeah. Now I know y'all might have to head out here in a couple of minutes. So if y'all have any other questions for the Hidden Variable folks here, get them in while you can.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, let us know. Happy to go through and answer any questions. I'm trying to browse through the listing here. So I saw someone asked if there are techs. I know, for example, tech rolls is a thing that we're planning on exploring in the future as we move forward. But Burst, they were completely accurate. Burst is kind of our equivalent of a tech as it currently stands. Trying to see if there's anything else, any other outstanding questions that are currently there. Let's see. Yeah, for folks that don't know the full Skullgirls cast, I encourage you to go through and check out the original Skullgirls game and see all the different characters that will ultimately make an appearance. Story-wise, we're kind of exploring a prologue of the main story in the Skullgirls universe, so you get to see, for people that are into the main Skullgirls narrative, you kind of get to experience a little bit of who they were before the main Skullgirls narrative starts. So that question, where does it say whether or not it's a burst or not? So the names of those moves are specifically, they're called burst. We're going to be adding some more information to a lot of those moves as well that kind of hints at kind of the tactical usage for those moves as well, so that bursts and taunts, which a taunt basically grants you a buff at the expense of kind of making you vulnerable for a few seconds. So we'll be adding some more of that information as well to help kind of encourage different types of tactical utility for the moves as well. There's a question here about, did the same devs make the Steam version and the PC version? So the original Skullgirls was made by Lab Zero, who is another local indie dev here in Los Angeles that we're friends with. I know we kind of gave the history a little bit early on, but we were not the original devs of the main game, but we've been collaborating with them on Skullgirls Mobile. We've been using the exact same engine, obviously all the same characters and animations. They've also been creating brand new animations for us, a lot of these new intro animations, and there's some stun animations you'll see within the game that were made specifically for Skullgirls Mobile, and then we're planning on working with them to kind of expand the cast and have more cool moves and other stuff in the game moving forward as the game progresses.
Well, yeah, and I was actually really interested as to what role Lab Zero was playing. I mean, they have some incredibly talented animators there. Just because, I mean, the game looks just incredible. it looks incredible with all the animations and the detail of the art, and especially playing this on like the Retina iPad, like it really it comes through really well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's as a game developer, it's awesome as well, because usually when you start working on a game, you're mostly dealing with gray boxes in an empty world, and you have to use your imagination to go through and say, it's gonna look cool, it's gonna look cool. Whereas on Skullgirls, we already started with all of this amazing animation to ultimately work with, so it was a really rewarding development experience to kind of enable all of these moves to suddenly pop up at the touch of your, with various taps and swipes and whatnot as you're going throughout the game. So yeah, I mean, they built an incredible foundation that we were able to go through and build off right from the get-go. And even though it's been a long development cycle, we're definitely very fortunate to have all these amazing characters to work with right from the start.
And yeah, I guess we have a couple more questions. I don't know if we might have to. I don't know when you'll have to head out, but yeah, just to reiterate for Android players, the game it's rolling out a soft launch right now. If it says it's incompatible right now, that doesn't mean that it's not compatible with your device. That's just what Google Play says for a soft launch game. So I'd say wait till tomorrow morning, or maybe I think midnight Pacific tonight. Maybe I think is when y'all were saying that might be starting to roll out worldwide for folks on Android.
Yep, definitely by tomorrow. But if it's not showing up for you, feel free to keep checking. It's just the reason why we technically release it, or start to roll it out prior to the announced date, is because the app stores take time to go through and update properly. So.
Oh, right. All right. So yeah, you'll be y'all be able to play this on Android soon enough. Patience is required, I guess. Also, nice. I have to call you out here. I like this quote. Deep down, I'm just the Samus of everyone else.
There's a lot of puns. If you like puns, you've come to the right place.
Oh yeah, that's a special place in our hearts.
Bronze only fight.
Yeah,
okay.
A big part of the original Skullgirls and a lot of the palettes they had for characters were all kind of inside references to gaming culture and other games and anime and whatnot. So we've tried to kind of take the baton from Lab Zero and push it to the nth degree. So enjoy / we're sorry.
Oh hey, at least you made Slur Strife happy, and and if you can make them happy, isn't that all that really matters?
Anything's possible. Let's see. Oh, so I saw a note here about what form of currency is in the game. Not to go like too much into the overall game economy, but just at a really high level. There are canopy points, which you collect from going through and completing fights and whatnot. Those are used to go through and upgrade moves, as well as, along with skill points, upgrade stuff on your skill tree. Skill points are required every time you level up a character. So if you level up any Parasol, you will just get Parasol skill points you can spend on any Parasol that you ultimately have. So if you're really itching to go through and get a new upgrade for one particular Parasol, you may want to level up other Parasols in your collection just to kind of use them as a machine to help kind of get you a few more skill points along the way. And then there's also Theonite, which is the main thing you spend in order to go through and unlock new characters and new moves and things like that as well by purchasing the relics that you see on the relic store. You collect that just organically by going through single player mode. You'll go through, and when you complete different milestones and finish some of those treasure nodes and whatnot, you'll go through and collect Theonite along the way. You can also get Theonite by completing daily challenges that exist that will reset every 24 hours. And then also in prize fights at different milestones along the way, like when you get to 10,000 points and 30,000 points and 100,000 points, you'll get a fixed amount of Theonite as well. So it's really important to us. We want to make sure that obviously if you want to go through and get some of the rare characters or whatever it may be, that you can obviously spend money to go through and get Theonite quickly and open a number of those relics. But if you are a free-to-play player, we want to make sure that we know that a large chunk of the population of people playing this game are going to be free-to-play, and we want to make sure that they can have a great time with the game as well. So we've gone out of our way to go through and kind of build
a healthy economy for the game as a whole that can satisfy both of those player types as well.
Very cool. I mean, and that's I think that's the challenge of making a mobile game is that is that obviously you gotta make money off of it. Gotta keep the doors open, but also a lot of your players are going to be playing for free. And I heard kind of the idea of kind of the social whale, the idea of a person who might not necessarily pay a lot of money in your game, if anything at all, but they love playing it and they love sharing about it, and it's important to keep those players players happy because they're the ones attracting other people to the game.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think there's lots of different ways in which players can go through and kind of help enable the game's overall success. But really, at the end of the day, it all comes back to, is the game fun and engaging, and do you want to play it every day? And so the good news is that's really the core of what we're ultimately trying to go through and build, is a game that's really fun to go through and play, that has a lot of variety, opportunity for kind of creativity, and kind of, for lack of, it sounds weird to say, but like a form of expression through combos, of like kind of creating your own unique combos and something that you really feel a sense of ownership over as you're playing through the game. I think that's all stuff that's really gratifying, and is a, it has a little bit of that. Any fight can kind of reveal a unique thing that you've never seen before. I was playtesting the build earlier today, and I saw a unique combination of moves that my opponent did against me that I'd never seen before. And I've been obviously playtesting this game for years. So, the game still surprises me. And whenever we do a playtesting session here, there's always 4 or 5 different moments where everyone, starts laughing suddenly, and then they recount some crazy scenario that ultimately took place. And hopefully that's testimony to the kind of systems that we built into the game that allows every single fight to be different from the last, which I think will really helps to kind of keep the game fresh and interesting, along with all these other RPG components and different characters and abilities you can upgrade and moves you can equip and whatnot, that will hopefully keep the game engaging for folks for many, many months and hopefully years to come. So we really tried to build something for the long haul that folks can really enjoy spending time with.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see how this game does, how people take to it. I mean, but yeah, just playing the soft launch version. Like, this is a game. This is a game I played and had fun with on stream here. So, best of luck to y'all with the game. I think y'all made a pretty fun game.
Awesome, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love. So, excited to. We've been working on it, quote unquote, in secret for a long time. So it's exciting to be able to kind of fully release it to the world. But we also know our work's not done, so we have a lot of additional stuff that we're planning on adding, both in terms of features and new characters and new moves and stuff like that as well. So we're itching to dig into all that stuff, and there'll be a lot of fun stuff that we'll be revealing and releasing, in the months to come. So
hidden variable makes secret game.
What we do?
I had to get y'all on at least one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, y'all, thanks so much for stopping by. I know y'all could only hang out for about an hour or so. I think I've already kept y'all beyond that. So if y'all need to head out, please feel free to head on out. But thanks so much for thanks for stopping by, answering questions for us, and chatting about the game. And it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, no worries. Congratulations for finishing the first act. You've got a bunch of stuff. We at least got to stick around and see what you get from some of these relics. So
okay.
Hopefully, developer luck can rub off on you, and you'll get a silver or gold from one of these. At least from the premier relic, that's the one that you've got a good chance of getting something rare from.
We may have delayed reactions to anything exciting here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, it looks like I got 2 of the premier relics. Let's see what we got. Show me the good stuff.
Here we go.
Nausea, headaches, and death.
Oh, no green glows.
Green glow, green glow, green glow. I don't think that's a green glow. I think that's blue.
All right.
Getting some cool looking characters.
No green glow.
Yeah. So, Twisted Metal. It's a good paintball variant.
Yep.
So also, if you end up saving up your Theonite, when you buy that bundle, like if you look on some of those premier relics, you can buy a bundle of 10. You'll actually get a bonus relic that'll come along with it, and that bonus relic has double the odds of getting a rare than a standard relic. So you've got 600, so you're 400 away. I think if you 100% a few more things and do the daily challenges and things like that, you can get to 1,000 pretty quickly. So it really depends on if you're a hoard and splurge type of free-to-play player, or someone who, just kind of spend as you go. It's up to you.
Ooh, I got a silver. Looks like a silver move relic here. Let's see what this gets.
Oh, nice.
Oh, we got the green.
Green's good.
Oh, look, a silver burst for Peacock. Cool.
Nice. That's a great move.
Yeah, that's super good.
Yeah, Peacock's a great character. Peacock, one of the things, I mean, every character has a lot of nuances, as we mentioned before. Peacock is a really great range character. She's really good at zoning. A lot of her moves are good for keeping your opponent at a distance. But having that burst, as I said before, is super valuable, both at high level, but also at lower levels. It's great for kind of allowing you to kind of punch above your weight class a little bit, because it makes you more survivable against other folks. So those missions at the top are all things they'll reset every 24 hours, but that's a great way to go through and get a little bit of Theonite every single day. Yeah, you can replace one every single day. So if it's something that you don't have the right team comps for, whatever it is, there's always the opportunity to dive back into it.
Yeah, sometimes they're like you right there. You win 10 fights with Pain Wheel. If you didn't happen to have a Pain Wheel,
well, the Silver Fighter is a perfect example. There you go.
Yeah.
So now you just win fights.
So, there you go.
And then, real quick, just while we're here, if you, I don't know if you have you tried the, I guess daily events haven't unlocked yet because he hasn't beaten Who's the Boss, probably. Once you beat Who's the Boss, you'll unlock the ability to go through and do the daily events. And those daily events are a little bit trickier, in part because they have modifiers. So, for example, you might be fighting against a opponent. It's locked right now until you complete Who's the Boss. But you'll fight against opponents that, for example, have half the cooldown time on all of their special moves, for example, or have other unique properties that kind of demand a certain type of tactical approach that you wouldn't have otherwise. So you're pretty close. You're just a couple of fights away from being able to get to that level. So.
Okay. I think now that I'm using some better fires, and I got my gold level up a bit. I think I'm in a better shape than I was before.
Nice. But you also get more skill points proportionally. Even though a skill tree is more expensive for a gold character, you get more skill points for leveling up a gold character. So as long as you keep leveling her up, you should have enough skill points to go through and purchase some of her unique abilities. And that's really a big thing for any character you're planning on spending a lot of time with, unlocking that character-specific ability. Pain Wheel, for example, has a flying mode that you can access by swiping up twice. That allows you to evade certain attacks, and there's certain moves you can do from that. Peacock can disappear in a hole in the ground and then pop up as a counterattack. We mentioned before, Parasol has the ability to kind of fire off those kind of unique remote mines. Big Band unlocks the ability to absorb one hit while he's dashing in, so he's able to kind of more effectively absorb some punishment and then get an encounter, which is really useful. Philia can evade attacks when she's dashing backwards, which helps to make her a lot more survivable. So every character has something really cool that they can go through and do. That is shared across all Pain Wheels and all Parasols and whatnot have that same ability, and then every single unique variant has a special unique kind of RPG ability that's unique to them that you can unlock along the way. So kind of unlocking what it is that makes that character special, and then kind of customizing your play style to take full advantage of it is a big part of kind of once you get comfortable with the core moveset for the characters and how to play the game. That becomes kind of the next thing to go through and master as you go through.
Okay, and I think we have one more question. Is there a training mode? I think it's not like the training mode from like the PC version, but I think that's just like one-on-one fights in this game, right? I believe that's how it works.
Yeah, there's actually a 3-on-3 training mode you can do whenever you like, and that's mostly there to go through and try out different combinations of moves and see, is this or is this not? Or if I get this guy near the wall and I go through and knock them up and do this combo, can that go into this special move and then go into that blockbuster? It gives you kind of a low stress place to experiment with some of that stuff. long term, we're planning on adding a few more tools to that training mode in order to enable you to like instantly refresh your blockbusters and special moves and things like that. So you can try out more things, but for the time being, it's basically just a good sandbox for you to go through and play in. So that little that thing that you're seeing, well, it was there while Parasol was alive, and I know I'm delayed again, but that was one of Parasol's tiers that you would unlock if you unlocked her character ability. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So lots of fun stuff to unlock along the way, and then we encourage folks to swing by our forums as well. If you have any questions or you're just kind of learning about the game, there's a really good active community with lots of folks that are there to go through and answer questions in addition to us that are kicking around. If you have any suggestions and whatnot, we're always watching. So that's at skullgirlsmobile.com.
Yeah, go check that out. Go check that out, y'all. Like I said, if you have any questions, or I know on Android, like I said, on Android, the game's still rolling out, so maybe wait till tomorrow if you can't get it right now. But if you have any compatibility issues, go yell at them there at skullgirlsmobile.com.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to go through the game with us. It's great to hear that you're, as I said, I'm very impressed by your ability to multitask and carry on a conversation while still taking on. There are lesser streamers that would have taken an easier road and just would have beaten up on the same basic characters over and over again. So kudos for taking on something that's a bit more challenging and having at least a fair bit of success along the way.
well, thanks, and yeah, thanks so much to y'all for stopping by and answering questions and talking about the game. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, our pleasure. So, you know where to find us if you need us. We're always available at Skullgirls Mobile and SG Mobile on Twitter. And I don't know if there's anything else we should go through and share, Nick.
Yeah, we're pretty much just firing up our social media. So everyone, Google Skullgirls Mobile, and a lot of stuff will start popping up. But otherwise, yeah, we're excited for people to check out the game and have fun.